Hey, Shaun.
John, how's it going, man? I don't see your pretty face on video.
I know. I just can't compete with I can't compete with yours for some reason. I can't get it on there. So anyway, welcome to Tuesday with Shaun and John. This is my colleague, just introduced my colleague Sean Bowen. How's it going this morning, T-Bone?
Man, I am better than I deserve. The phone is ringing, which is a great day. There's a lot of good things happening today, John. Feels like a Friday.
So that's awesome, man. So before I got on the camera with you here, I just got off of a conversation with one of my best clients, and I want to talk about them right now. I don't know about you, Shaun, but for me, this has been one of the most amazing journeys that I've been on. I have never seen so many companies urgently hiring. Are you in the same boat as I am?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been doing this. It'll be 7 years in next May, and so I feel the same way. It's crazy. It seems like every single company's hiring, not just for one position, but multiple positions. And it's not just construction companies. I mean, drive around where we live in Sioux Falls. Every restaurant's competing with each other. Like there's a sign, I think it's Taco John's has a sign up down the road from our office, and it says, hey, we'll match or we'll beat your current restaurant pay. And so I love that because, companies have to get extremely competitive if they want to hire good, talented people, and not just financially, but from a culture standpoint too. So when I see all these open jobs on the market, I think what it does, John, I think it does a couple things. First off, it challenges employers to be better employers. Okay. And then the other side of that is that it really allows them to reevaluate how they want to pay people, because money makes the world go round. So here's a simple fact, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but people often do make a change for more money. That's no secret. It happens. And so right now, the companies like in our industries that John and I work in, commercial drywall, coatings, pretty much anything construction, the companies that I'm seeing that have a huge advantage right now are companies that are allowing either a remote work scenario or a hybrid scenario where they can work in the office and at home, maybe 50% of the time, 70% of the time. Honestly, if there's any employers watching right now, if you offer that from an employer standpoint, you've got a huge leg up right now as far as hiring goes.
I agree 100. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And again, I'm having technical difficulties, so you get to hear me. You get to hear my voice, but you don't get to see my pretty face. So, I mean, just as an example, like I said, I've got a Chicago painting contractor, one of the top painting contractors in the Chicagoland market right now, that is urgently hiring for a project manager. Now, this project manager needs to have experience in the commercial painting industry, specific to the commercial painting industry, familiarity with on-screen takeoff and quick bid, projects of over $500,000 underneath their belt, probably a minimum of 4 to 5 years worth of experience to work with a family-owned and operated company with great work-life balance, with great, fantastic culture, and really people that are on the cutting edge, no pun intended, of the commercial painting industry. Just reached out to me today. Now, I was sharing with him how I've reviewed 42 resumes. Out of those 42, only one was really qualified for the job. So I shared that person with him. Unfortunately, that person was snapped up by another company, which just goes to show how quickly people get hired in this industry. You really have to change your attitude. And I think maybe, Shaun, you can talk about this a little bit. You really have to change your attitude when it comes to hiring. You really have to change your attitude when it comes to your flexibility, when it comes to your interview process, when it comes to your offer process, really kind of speeding up and making your process more efficient. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I will. And John, just out of curiosity, we're streaming on LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, man. I mean, I'll put it this way. If you have, it's kind of like the way I look at it is like you almost got to shoot first and ask questions second when it comes to interviewing right now. So because there appears to be a major candidate shortage in the industry, and what happens is that when a good candidate applies for a job, comes on the market, there's going to be a ton of competition from other employers in the industry that are going to be approaching that candidate. And so if you find somebody who hits like, I would say 50 or 60% of what you're looking for right now, employers, you can't really be that picky. That's just a simple fact. Right now, you cannot be that picky because there's not a lot of good candidates on the market. And so the companies that are able to hire people faster than other companies, obviously that goes without saying, that's a huge advantage. Whereas if you're the type of employer and, hey, I can respect wanting to hire the right people, I get that. But I think you can hire the right person in a short interview process just as good as you can in a long interview process. So that's my encouragement to the companies that I work with, that I've been working with for years. It's pretty simple. And they know that when I bring them someone to the table, I'm not the only company that I'm bringing that person to. That's just a simple fact. So the companies that are willing to pull the trigger a little bit quicker and, make that interview process shorter, they have a huge advantage versus the ones that just they want to interview the person 3 or 4 times and kick tires. Those companies typically end up not really finding anybody.
So Shaun, I mean, this is kind of this curiosity speaking. As recruiters, I mean, we're the number one drywall paint, commercial drywall, commercial paint. In reality, recruiters in the country, and we are. I mean, I think personally on my personal desk, I've got well over 40 active job hunts going on right now simultaneously that we've got our team working on. How about you? I mean, what's your what? I mean, I guess do this. I've already talked about the urgency. We've already talked about that. Tell me, what's the number one job on your desk right now? What's the number one coolest job that you're recruiting for?
Dude,
and tell us a little bit about that.
John, I wish I could tell you the number one. I mean, the fact of the matter is that because of the market, like here's the thing, and John, you remember this, a year and a half ago, it was April, you and I were sitting together and we pretty much went from 15 or 20 urgent jobs to like 2 or 3. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. So at that time, if you were to ask me that question, I could tell you, here's my number one job, right? Because I only had 2 or 3 to choose from. And actually one of those was a repeat client, signed on a good service fee that makes sense for a recruiter. But now here's the situation we're in. We're on the opposite side of that, where like you say, John, we probably have 40 active, hot jobs. There's probably more than that. But I think it'd be hard for me to articulate, hey, here's my number one. I could tell you about my 5, but what's going on is that there's so many open jobs out there right now, John. So I'm not really concerned about my number one job. I'm concerned about finding the right candidate.
Why don't you tell me what that's a great point, Shaun. And I've talked about this several times on my live stream. Describe for me the ideal drywall candidate anywhere in the country. Let's start with project manager.
You want me to tell you what a good drywall project manager looks like from a background standpoint?
Yep, from a background standpoint. Give me a cookie cutter picture of someone that we can place in any metropolitan area in the country right now.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say first and foremost, on-screen takeoff, quick bid, or a similar type of software. They must be proficient in that. Hate to say this. I talk to a lot of who are nice people, good candidates, but if you don't have that software knowledge, that's almost that's pretty much a preliminary skill set these days for any of the clients that we work with. So you have to have on-screen takeoff, quick bid, or like I said, a similar software, the Edge or Plexus or something similar. The other thing is, and this might sound obvious, is that you got to have a good attitude. You have to be open and honest communication. I don't think I've ever placed a candidate in my 6.5, 7 years. I don't think I've ever placed a candidate who is a complete jerk, because I don't work with those people. If I talk to someone who's going to lie to me, they're not going to tell me, they're not going to have open and upfront communication. That right there is almost a no-go. So the software, a good personality. I would say you have to have somewhat of a good tenure. Let's be honest, this is a specialty trades industry. And it seems that part of working in the trades industry is that there's not a lot of, I don't want to say that there's not a lot of loyalty, but people make a lot of jumps, and for whatever reason or not, but having some type of loyalty where you can show on your resume, hey, you're at this place for 3 years, here for 2 years, here for 4 years. But if you're here for 6 months, a year, 3 months, a year, like that person almost never gets placed by John or I. And then I would say just good project experience, metal framing, drywall, track history of running successful projects, not bad projects. Have to have good references that are able to back up what you're telling us from a recruiter standpoint. And so I know that doesn't sound like a lot, that doesn't sound like this huge list of qualifications, but what I look for: software knowledge, specific types of projects, specifically commercial, not residential drywall, specifically commercial, good personality, which includes open and honest communication. If somebody has all of those and some type of good tenure, whatever that looks like, if somebody has like those 5 things, I almost always can place them. And if I can't place them, I don't know, it might not be my fault. They want to blame it on me.
So that's awesome. Now, are the when we're talking about commercial paint, concrete restoration, waterproofing, are those same basic things that we're looking for? Are those the same basic things that we're looking for in those areas?
Yeah, I would say to some extent those are applicable to, like I said, John, like the industries that we recruited, whether it's waterproofing, industrial, commercial coatings, commercial drywall. Obviously, getting into paint and waterproofing and different things like that, there's other softwares that these candidates are using outside of that. But, and the other thing is this, like if I'm recruiting for a commercial drywall project manager, it's very important that particular candidate has commercial drywall experience. I know that sounds obvious, but John, you and I both know that we talk to people, or people want to talk to us, whatever the case is, they have zero experience in that industry. Well, I can't help that person out in that, with a job that requires being in the industry.
Well, like even being like, we get, and you see them the same way I do. We get a ton of applications, resumes from people that are in the GC industry, for example. They're general contractors, and they've done drywall, they've done framing, in addition to 100 other things within the general contracting realm. And those are not good candidates for drywall jobs, but they're good candidates for other jobs. I mean, with GPAC, we have kind of the reach to be able to connect those types of folks with other types of jobs as well. But so, like, for example, if you're a house painter, we're not going to be able to place you in the commercial painting job. If you're working residential as a wood frame residential drywaller, we're not going to be able to put you into a commercial drywall position. It's just not gonna happen. If you're currently a drywall, metal stud framing project manager and estimator, and you want to get into the GC realm, you're not going to be able to do that without taking a backward step. Is that what you're finding to be true, Shaun?
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. And I think, speaking to specifically employers, the one thing that I feel like that we have a really good grasp on in the industries that we work in, commercial drywall, commercial paint, industrial coatings, and we do some waterproofing and concrete restoration as well. The one thing that John and I feel like that we do good at is if we're going to bring a company, if we're going to bring one of our clients, a potential candidate, 95% of the time, now there are some times where our clients will look at people outside of the industry, but 95% of the time we're bringing them candidates that are already doing exactly what our client is doing. So for example, if we're working with a commercial drywall contractor in Chicago and they need a drywall estimator, we're going to bring them a drywall estimator. We're not going to bring them a residential drywall estimator. We're going to bring them a commercial drywall estimator. And it does blow my mind. And I think that's the great thing about being specialized in what we do, right, John? Is since we're specialized, it allows us to really understand what our clients are looking for. And most of the time, we don't even have to be on the phone with our client for super long to really gauge what they're looking for. Because we've been doing this between John and I, it's been close to 12 years. And we've placed probably 500 people in the last, between the two of us. We know what our clients are looking for, and we don't waste time bringing them people that do not make sense. We bring them candidates that come from their specific industry, unless if they tell us that they'll look at other candidates outside the industry.
Right, and that's another great benefit that we bring to companies is that we don't waste your time. I just give the example of the Chicago paint company that's looking for a paint PM right now. We're not bringing them people that have zero experience on the commercial side. We literally vet hundreds and hundreds of resumes on a weekly basis. I mean, Shaun, I don't know about you, but I get at least 100 resumes from people on a weekly basis, and 98% of them I immediately throw in the garbage because they're not connected to anything I do in the industry or anything the industry has anything to do with the job that they're applying for. And this is something that saves company owners time. And we don't call them every day. We don't call company owners every day and say, hey, hey, we have zero candidates that, that qualify, or even worse, hey, we just got a resume today. This guy's a burger flipper from McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But he claims to be a project manager in commercial paint. Do you want to talk to him? We don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but you're hitting on a good point though, right? I mean, we're being a little bit probably facetious, but you're hitting on a point of saving our employers time and we can also flip that around to the candidates that we work with too, because since we're specialized, we know what we're looking for from a candidate side. We listen to our candidates. We know exactly what their skill set is. We know exactly what they're already doing. And we know a lot of the players or a lot of the companies that do what they do, whether they're trying to relocate somewhere or stay local to that area. We already have that knowledge most of the time of where this particular candidate's going to be a good fit. Even like I work with a lot of companies in Chicago that do a lot of TI. So they're doing like these $50,000 projects to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 projects. And if I'm talking to a candidate who maybe does a ton of ground up experience and he's doing 5, 10, 15, $20 million projects, he probably will not be a fit for that TI company. Now he's got the metal framing, the drywall, other specialties that are included into the trade. But a person like that probably won't be a good fit for a company who's only doing TIs. Now, if I find a TI guy who's working for a competitor, so I mean, it goes beyond just the skill set. It goes into the types of projects they want to do or they're doing. I mean, there's a lot that I would say there's just a lot that goes into it, just making that perfect match.
And our goal at GPAC is always to hit the nail on the head, slam the cover off the ball, do what we can to bring a 10 out of 10 candidate with a perfect candidate every single time. But reality is, Shaun, and you can address this just a little bit, right now in the market, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, a lot of times is what is happening.
Yeah.
Because reality is that the market is tight. Good people are hard to find. There's all kinds of excuses that we can make. It's really no excuse, but what we're seeing in the market is that people are holding on to their jobs. People are scared to leave their jobs. And in order for us to get them to leave their job, they have to leave their job for something better than what they have right now. Unfortunately, one of the worst motivations in my book as a recruiter, when I see somebody that's only money hungry, that's only looking for more, a bunch more money, then they're going to leave. In my mind, they're going to leave that job if someone pays them, $5,000 more. But the reality is that is a huge motivator. What else are you seeing on the market, Shaun, that's a huge motivator that makes somebody want to leave one company where they have a good, stable track record, where they're very comfortable? What would get them out of their comfort zone to go to a different company?
Yeah, great question. And I agree with you what you said about the money hungry candidate or the money hungry professional. Most of the time, if someone's confidentially looking to leave or desiring to leave, there's other motives behind that. And that's what we try and through questioning and qualifying the candidate, we do try and get to the bottom of what is their desire. Because like you said, John, if someone's just money hungry, that's fine. Because I get that. I mean, it could be, money hungry is one thing, but being underpaid, maybe you like your company and you love where you're at. You've been there for a long time, because this happens a lot. So I don't want to construe this, but I've come across candidates who love their company. They love their leadership. They love the projects they're doing. And they are money hungry because they haven't gotten a raise for 5 years and they're hitting all of their profit margins. They're making their employer a ton of money and they're not getting a bonus. They're not getting a raise. Their family's growing. Inflation is obviously picking up. So their salaries here, and it's been here for a number of years and it hasn't gone up, but their family dynamics has changed. Everything's getting more expensive. I get why a person in that situation is money hungry, right?
Right.
That person
Absolutely.
says, dude, I need to make a change. I need you to find me exactly what I have right here with my culture, or similar to it, similar types of projects, similar type of flexibility. But here's where I need to be at financially. This is where I know people are at. And I've already talked to my company and they're not going to give me a raise. It's been an ongoing issue for like 4 months. So like that person who's money hungry might appear to be money hungry until we dig into that a little bit more and understand that. So I'm going to answer your question, John, but I think it's important to point that out.
And money hungry, like I talk to people all the time that their job, what we call job hoppers, and you've talked about that a little bit today, where they've gotten raises of say $4,000 or $5,000 at each position, and they go from place to place in 6 months, 8 months, a year, just to get a little bit more money. And again, I get that, I understand that. That's kind of a lousy thing. If they would jump from job to job just because of money. But there's several other things that people are looking for. Not that money's a bad thing. Compensation is awesome. I also know people, and this is not these money hungry people. I know people that are severely underpaid in this industry, in the commercial drywall industry.
Right.
They're making probably anywhere from 10 to 20% lower than what a person with a similar amount of job and experience should be looking for. And I love for those people to call me up and saying, hey, I'm only making X number of dollars a year. I've got this many years of experience. I've got this much tenure. I love talking to those people. So don't get me wrong. I love talking to those people because their company's trying to hold on to them but they're not paying them what their value is in the market. And we have that insight into the industry to know what people are making in the industry with that much experience in the industry.
100%. Yep. I want to circle back to your question though, is, I think the question was somewhere along the lines of, what's causing people to make a change right now, or how can a company, I guess kind of, how can a company make it easier for people to come work for them?
Yes.
And I know we talked about this earlier, but there's probably some people that are jumping in and off on this, or there could be people that are just not watching this, which it's okay. We're having fun. I will say this: if you're in a commercial drywall or commercial paint industry, specifically those two industries, if you have some type of a hybrid or remote opportunity, if your estimators and PMs can either work a hybrid schedule where they're in the office maybe 50% of the time and at home 50% of the time. Obviously, if a new person starts out, they're going to be in the office probably every day for 2 or 3 months just to get acclimated to your processes. But I will tell you this: if you are a company that's willing to offer that, or 100% remote work, you have a huge advantage to bringing people on board. And I understand the fear of companies. I understand the fear where it doesn't align with their culture. I mean, there's a lot of fears associated with that. And I understand all of those. And I understand that those types of situations are not for every company. If I don't know, if I ran a construction company, I don't know that I would do that either. I mean, because I like being in the office and all of that, but I think at least offering a hybrid opportunity, just starting there, is a big advantage to bringing people on. Huge advantage. I mean, if every company, like if more of my clients were offering that, John, I will tell you right now, they would not have an issue finding good estimators or PMs.
Well, and that's a perfect example, Shaun. I mean, I probably in the last week talked to people, and the one thing that they said that could be better than what they have right now is that they've about 98% of them have all gotten back to the office.
Yep.
And they're getting involved in that commute again. I think about places like Boston. I think about places like Washington, D.C.,
yep,
where San Francisco, California, where some commutes are upwards of 3 hours each way. Now imagine you gotta think bigger. You gotta think outside of yourself. Yes, it's important to have an office. Yes, it's important to have interactions and everything else. But just think about how much more work an estimator could do in 6 hours if he or she was not driving in a car.
Right. Well, think how much happier they're going to be. Think about the better work-life balance. Like John, like we just placed that estimator out in Massachusetts. He was commuting, I think it was like 70 miles one way to work every single day. Not just for a couple of years. I'm talking for like 8 or 9 years.
In Boston, 70 miles. 70 miles is 2.5 hours.
So sometimes. This guy, he was a main estimator for a company, and we found him a job. Now the job is not going to let him work remote or hybrid, but guess what? It's 30 minutes from his house. And if his current employer, he's still employed at this company, but he's already put in his notice, all that stuff. So I'm not going to say the name of the company or his name or anything like that. But if his current employer would have kind of thought outside the box and said, man, I wonder if John Doe must be miserable. I mean, he's commuting 140 miles every day to work. He's a hell of a good estimator. He's hitting all of his profit margins, making us money. He's making money. But man, that commute's got to suck. Maybe we should, he's been here for 8 years. Maybe we should let him work from home a couple days a week. You know what I mean? Now, guess what? Now they have to go through the whole process of finding an estimator right now in this market. Hard as hell. And so, it's just an example of like, the times are changing. If you want to be competitive in hiring people, I'm just saying what I'm seeing in the market, the companies that are allowing a hybrid work scenario minimally have a huge advantage. And those are the ones that are going to be able to find the good estimators, the good PMs more easily. I'm not saying that's the only way, but it will be easier for them if they offer that.
Right. Now we're gonna bring this party to a close because we got recruiting to do.
I thought we were gonna talk for like 4 more hours, dude.
Well, I know we can for sure.
We can talk off camera.
Yeah, we've got candidates to call. We've got companies to help. But just in closing, as we're talking to companies here, something that just resonates with me so much is that sometimes you have to think opposite of what your business school taught you. If you're a contractor, sometimes you have to think differently than all the other contractors around you. I can tell you right now that one thing that would move a lot of people is what Shaun was just talking about. The ability to have work-life balance and flexibility, and part of that is working remotely. Now, I'm not going to bring a person in and tell them to work remotely on the first day. That's not true. You got to learn the culture. You got to learn the people. You got to know and understand who you're working with and how the best methods of doing this are. You have to gain the trust to be able to do that. But I can only imagine how many more people we would be able to move from these old school stoic companies that will never change.
Yep.
And that brought their people back after this COVID. I mean, there's still people that are nervous about this COVID-19, about going to work and sitting around other people, even with masks and even with vaccines. They're nervous about that. They're still scared about that, but they're extremely talented individuals out there that if someone is willing to work with them on a hybrid opportunity, that would be awesome. So anyway, put that in your thinking cap. Think a little bit different. Broaden your mind. That's what we're here for. Shaun Bowen, we've got your number up there, Shaun, 605-809-8512. John Chisholm, 605-277-3729. If you're a drywall contractor that needs talent, give us a call. But more importantly, if you are in the commercial drywall industry, on-screen takeoff and quick bid, working specifically in metal framing, drywall, acoustical ceilings, paint, plaster, anything Division 9, and you think there might be something better than what you have right now, whatever your motivation is, call us today, 605-277-3729, and have a great day.
Thank you, John.